British Prime Minister Andy Burnham has arrived in Kyiv on his first international visit since taking office, delivering a strong message of support for Ukraine as the country marks its 35th anniversary of independence. One of the biggest announcements from the visit is Britain's decision to allow defense company MBDA to declassify information on UK-made components used in the SCALP long-range cruise missile. The move could eventually allow Ukraine and France to establish local assembly lines for the missile in Ukraine, strengthening Kyiv's ability to produce long-range weapons domestically. SCALP is the French version of the Anglo-French Storm Shadow missile, which Ukraine has already used against Russian military and infrastructure targets. The missile weighs around 1,300 kilograms and is approximately 5.1 meters long. It is designed to strike pre-planned, stationary targets at long distances, using advanced navigation systems and operating during both day and night and in different weather conditions. The missile has been used by the armed forces of several countries, including Britain, France, and Italy. Although the technology-sharing agreement is unlikely to transform the battlefield overnight, it represents a significant step toward giving Ukraine greater independence in producing sophisticated long-range weapons. Burnham's visit began with a solemn moment. On Monday morning, the British Prime Minister laid flowers at the graves of Ukrainian soldiers at the National Military Memorial Cemetery in Kyiv. His visit coincides with Ukraine's Independence Day, bringing several international leaders to the Ukrainian capital in a show of solidarity. Burnham is also chairing his first meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, the group established by Britain and France to coordinate international support for Ukraine. The British Prime Minister has repeatedly emphasized that London's support for Kyiv will continue for as long as necessary. The visit comes at a particularly tense moment in the war. Ukraine has significantly increased its long-range attacks against targets inside Russia, including oil infrastructure, warehouses, and other facilities. Moscow has warned Britain of potential consequences over its military support for Ukraine, particularly as Kyiv uses British-supplied technology and weapons in attacks against Russian infrastructure. The Russian embassy in London has accused Britain of deliberately escalating the conflict and warned that deeper British involvement could come at a higher cost. But Burnham has rejected the criticism, maintaining that Britain is supporting Ukraine's right to defend itself against Russia's invasion. The missile announcement is only one part of Britain's wider military assistance. Ukraine is also seeking additional Patriot interceptor missiles, which are designed to defend against Russian ballistic missile attacks. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukraine has requested hundreds of additional Patriot interceptors as its existing supplies come under increasing pressure. Unlike Patriot systems, SCALP missiles are not designed to intercept incoming attacks. Instead, they are long-range strike weapons intended to hit targets deep behind enemy lines. British Defense Minister Luke Pollard has emphasized that Ukraine needs a range of capabilities, including air defense systems capable of intercepting Russian cruise missiles, as well as technology designed to counter drones. The need for stronger air defense has become increasingly urgent as Russian attacks continue to hit Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. The latest exchanges have also resulted in casualties on both sides. Russian authorities reported that 2 children were killed and several others injured after debris from a Ukrainian drone struck a children's facility in Russia. A warehouse belonging to online retailer Ozon was also set on fire after being targeted in a series of attacks. The company has reported strikes on its logistics facilities in different Russian regions. Ukraine, meanwhile, continues to suffer deadly Russian attacks. 3 people were reported killed in a Russian strike on the northeastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. The escalating attacks demonstrate how the conflict continues to expand beyond the traditional front lines, with both countries increasingly targeting infrastructure far from the battlefield. Meanwhile, Russia's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Andrei Kalin, has recently left his post in London. Moscow has not yet appointed a replacement, although Russia's embassy has said the departure does not necessarily indicate an intention to downgrade diplomatic relations. For Britain, however, the message from Kyiv is clear. The government says it intends to remain a major supporter of Ukraine, even as the conflict becomes more dangerous and the possibility of further escalation remains. For Ukraine, access to advanced missile technology could eventually provide greater control over its own weapons production and reduce its dependence on foreign deliveries. But the impact will take time. Building domestic production lines for sophisticated long-range missiles is a major undertaking and is unlikely to have an immediate effect on the battlefield. Still, Britain's decision to release information on key missile components represents a significant commitment to Ukraine's long-term military capabilities. As Burnham stands alongside President Zelensky and other international leaders in Kyiv, the broader message from Britain's government is that its support for Ukraine is intended to continue, not only during the current war, but also as the country looks toward its future security.